Hello, mech fans. This is Duncan Fisher. Hold on firmly to your mana potions, fireballs, and familiars, because you are tuning in to your regularly scheduled episode of the First Circuit Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the First Circuit Podcast, episode 153. Tonight's our usual hosts are Ian.
Hello.
Biter.
Hello.
And myself, Oldbot 10025. Hello. And special guest is 1in51, a painter extraordinaire with Camospecs, Flickr, and does a massive amount of great work online for Battletech and different other genres. Say hello, 1in51.
Hello.
Actually, I could call you Ollie, right? Just kind of weird saying 1in51.
Yeah.
Then we'll be talking
Ollie's
about
perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect, Ollie. Tonight we'll be talking about different ways of painting, how to get into it, techniques and everything else from a great painter that's on the internet for Battletech and Battletech Online and figures and all that kind of stuff. So here we go. Take it away, Ian.
Thank you, Bob, for that perfect intro that only took 4 attempts. You're getting so much better. I'm so proud of you all, Bob.
Thank you so much.
After all these years, you're finally improving.
Yes.
Welcome, robot number 1N51, to the First Circuit Podcast. If you don't mind, could you introduce yourself a bit more and tell us how people might know you and who you are?
Hi, my name is Oliver, and I'm from Germany. And I'm your average nerd guy. I'm 42 years old, married, 2 kids, and deeply into BattleTech, a little into Star Wars and such. Battlestar Galactica, following.
Mm-hmm.
And you might know me from Twitter, from my account _1n51_, or from the Camospecs account on Twitter as well, from Reddit, Flickr, and such. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I assume if people are just casually browsing the Battletech community, there's a really good chance they've stumbled upon one of your photos.
Yep.
Wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Might be.
Well, that's how I actually found you, was from your Dropships. You know, when you did your Dropships, I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing, and that's how I found you. So yeah, through like Twitter.
And you were the one to introduce me into the community by finding these pictures.
Anyone who's in Battletech is part of the community, right? Anyone in Battletech is? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, very first, very important question out of the way. Where did 1N51 come from? What's that kind of name?
Yeah. Way back in the 90s, I had some friends and me were playing computer games like Quake, and I was the one to play it on Nightmare always, and my friends said, "You are insane, how can you do that?" And that's where the name came from. It's insane, and developed into INSI, and INSI is so common that it's almost everywhere unavailable on social media. So it changed to 1N51, and yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, I thought it's easy to recognize, as it looks similar to the capital letters, INSI, but yeah, in fact, people don't recognize it and call me 1N51, but please call me Oliver or Ollie.
Ollie, okay.
Ollie,
yeah.
Ollie's good.
I would have never gotten INSI from that name.
Yeah, I know.
Now that you say it, like, yeah, sure, I look at your Discord overlay and yeah, that spells INSI quite clearly, but no.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people got their names, especially with numbers behind it. It's like, oh, Bob Smith 01 is taken 02, taken 03, so they go, screw it, 1,532. Whatever it is, and that's how people get their names nowadays.
Yep.
I've played too many military games where you have like M16 or whatever that you're just used to reading short little names like that, where you read as 51 rather than C.
That's all enough.
Yeah, when I joined Camospecs, one guy posted, "Hey, it's we always wanted to have a guy with a license plate as a name." So
That's nice. Oh, God.
That's a good one. All right, so Oliver, you're doing painting, you're doing stuff for Camospecs online. Is this your job? Do you have some
No.
kind of official capacity with this?
No, that's not my job. I'm just doing this in the evening for relaxation, and that's basically all. And I posted a couple of pictures of things I painted online,
Mhm.
and people said, "Oh, looks nice." And when I when I posted the dropships, Bob discovered them on Twitter, and somehow I appeared in one of his podcasts, one of these podcasts for Circuit, and that's basically what got me into it.
Okay. Yeah, those. I mean, everybody screamed at the dropships. They're like, "Oh my God, that's beautiful!" Especially with the big logos of each house that you have on there. Wolf Dragoons and Wolf Dragoons especially.
For quite
Yeah,
some
with
time we only saw the model, but we never saw it actually properly
Yeah.
painted.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
but the logos are decals from Fighting Piranha Graphics, except the Wolf's Dragoons, which I made by
Oh,
myself,
wow. Can you show
and
that?
the spider.
Can you show that?
I absolutely can.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that and the spider, and I
That's
made
all.
a stencil for it.
Really?
I sat at home and
Very
cut
cool.
it from a vinyl foil and placed it on it, and it was a lot of work.
I bet.
Can
It looks
imagine.
beautiful. Looks beautiful, man. I mean, the Wolf Dragoons, the
Thank
gray and
you.
everything looks really cool. The
Yeah,
Creedy one looks
Wolf
cool
Dragoons for
too.
the win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Ghost Bear though, that's a clan thing, I guess. I don't know. Not my forte, I guess. But everything else is awesome though, man. Beautiful done.
Okay, so obviously, Bob or this podcast may have introduced you to the further BattleTech community, but this isn't your first encounter with BattleTech. How do you get started in this franchise?
Yeah, funny story. When I was a kid, there was a comic book, and there were those giant robots in it, and I absolutely had no idea what they were called. I think I was that young that I couldn't read, and I was looking for them and never found them. And I think it must be 10, 12 years later. Mechwarrior 2 came out, and I thought, hey, they look almost like the ones from my childhood. And people told me that there is a local game store in my hometown, and they might have figurines of those mechs. And I went there, and they had mechs. And so to me, it was, hey, that was BattleTech. And I saw the Shadowhawk, and that was the mech I knew from the comic book. In fact, it wasn't BattleTech, it was Dagram, I think
Oh, the
it's
Dugram?
called.
Yeah, Dugram.
Dugram, yeah.
Yeah,
But the Shadowhawk, that was it. And in that store, there were some guys who played BattleTech, and they told me to come and join them, and yeah, I did.
and then the rest is history, right? And like with painting and getting into it, and further expanding to the BattleTech universe, and going over and over and over again, millions of dollars invested in the game hobby, right?
No, not really, because I joined that group, and for maybe 1 or 2 years, and we played for Otomo from Korea,
Okay.
and some of those guys went crazy, in my opinion, as they thought they were the Mr. Takashi Kurita themselves. And if you don't move your mech there, I'll shut it off and you're out and such. And then I said, hey, to me, this is a game. I want to have fun. If you don't agree to that, I'm out. And then I was out. And that was maybe 25 years ago, approximately. And I got back into BattleTech last year at around this time when I was on an X-Wing tournament and X-Wing Managers game. And I sponsored one model for this tournament as for the prize pool, where it might be in this list.
Is it the Slave One or the
on Flickr? No, it's there it is left. The Thai Special Forces.
Oh, the red one? Oh wow.
Nope,
No.
that's a V1, not this one. Yeah, this one.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the owner of the store asked if I could paint a BattleTech mini for him because he's deeply into BattleTech, and I said, hey, I was into BattleTech once. Maybe I could do that one day, and he convinced me to try to give BattleTech another chance, and told me about the Kickstarter and such, and yeah, so I got back into BattleTech.
So like, did you order the big box like Ian did, the Supreme Commander edition, basically?
No, I ordered the $45 box.
Okay.
Don't know
Okay.
what. I was the last one of the late backers, but yeah, I went full recharge and pledged for I don't know $600
Oh,
or so
God.
in the end, and
Yep. And he's
I'm
still
waiting
getting
for my
off
stuff
cheaper
to
than I did.
arrive.
Jeez. Well, I think a lot of people did that too. Like I know, like I added some things, and like I only got to like the $30 box set or whatever it is, and then I added a couple extra
But those
posters.
leather books,
I
those leather
know.
hardcover books.
And actually, what I wanted was a jacket. I wanted the when BattleTech from Hairbanks Games did it, I wanted the jacket.
Yeah, the original jacket, yeah.
Plus
A
also,
jacket?
yeah,
There's the jacket.
yeah. There's a jacket for Hairbanks
Yeah, they had a
Games.
pretty cool leather jacket. It's not the highest quality, but it looks pretty cool and it's quite unique. I've
Yeah.
seen it in person once. At that
Yeah.
point, I didn't have the money to buy it, so I just got the
I
just got the hat and the BattleTech Steins.
Oh, that's Stein. Yeah, that's right.
Also quite cool, but yeah, I missed out on the jacket.
Yeah, I missed out on my name in there. Basically in the BattleTech universe with Hairbanks Games. That would be kind of cool. But anyways, so okay, sorry, we're just going off in different directions here.
Complete tangent.
Yeah. But yeah, like a lot of people did that. They, I'm noticing people's Twitter accounts. They've been showing their boxes of what they've been getting. It's like, oh my god! It's like, what the hell? Each box is like $45 to $60, and I got like 20 of them stacked up. I'm like, oh geez. But hey, that's what it is. That's what BattleTech is. It's a community of people that really love the genre and the company themselves, and so they go ahead and want to help out Catalyst Games and further induce BattleTech into the next generation. I mean, I know I'm old, and going to playing BattleTech, and the kid's like 18. I'm like, I feel old now. I feel really, really old when I go play BattleTech sometimes. But yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Welcome to my little world. I feel old too, Bob.
I know, we all feel old, man. Basically, like, started in '84, and I mean, I got books older than some people I play with. I mean, it's like, okay, this book is older than you, man. Please be careful with it, type of thing. But yeah,
I have books older than myself from BattleTech, quite a few ones.
there you go. See.
Yeah, I was lucky to grab some of those old books. Some for cheap, others were pretty expensive, I think. But I got them.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely. Do you have any other hobbies as far as well, obviously you said Star Wars. Star Wars is a miniature game, right?
Yeah, X-Wing.
Okay, X-Wing. Do you have anything else that like?
No.
Nope.
I got the Battlestar Galactica miniature game, but nobody wants to play with me.
That's a
But I
case
love
with a
it.
lot of games, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yes. But I frequently play X-Wing with buddies of mine every 2 weeks. Um, and I'm still looking for a group to play BattleTech with.
Okay. Yeah, actually, same with me too. Moving up here, I haven't been. I mean, there's a group up here, but I don't want to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to go play, and then 2 hours back. It just doesn't appeal to me that much. I love BattleTech, but
Yeah.
2 hour drive is hard.
Is it much easier to find X-Wing? I don't remember too much of X-Wing. Isn't it like it's where you're doing the space combat and you like bank left and right and
Yes.
you take turns simultaneously?
It is easier to find people, but here it was a funny story, or it is a funny story because one of my colleagues told me, "Hey, I got this the Star Wars game, and you have to see the miniatures. They are so great."
Mm-hmm.
And it was version 1.0 in those days, and I saw it, and I was absolutely annoyed by everything Star Wars, because Star Wars here, Star Wars there, Star Wars kits, Star Wars shirts, Star Wars sandals, everything. But there were X-Wings, small X-Wing models. Okay, there was one into this box, and I bought it and never played it. But one day, the brother of my neighbor went along on our street, and I saw him and said, "Hey, that's a TIE fighter on your shirt." Yes, it's a TIE fighter, and that's Star Wars, and I live Star Wars, and I was Star Wars myself. And yes, he told me there is this game, and I said, "Yes, I know there is this game. No one plays it. Do you play it?" "Oh yes, you have to come and join us. We have a local gaming group." And this group is in a local bowling room, a bowling center, and they sponsor us a room where we can play.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for bowling and saw those nerds sitting inside playing Star Wars, and I said to myself, I don't think I want it. No, they look weird. And
All those nerds look weird. Come on.
yeah, and that dude, Toby, he just wouldn't stop and said, "Hey, you have to join us." And then I said, "Hey, okay," and yeah, I come to your group, and I'll have a look. Yeah. Okay. I went there. My son came with me, and we sat there eating some fries, looking at those nerds, and I recognized I'm one of them.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
also a nerd.
Yep.
I'll come again. I'll join you. I want to play this game. And that changed my life
Oh yeah.
a little bit.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
with the guy just not letting you live it down, I kind of feel called out. That's how I'm with BattleTech. Oh boy.
Yeah. They wanted to convince me to play Warhammer, but no.
Oh God, no.
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 God, how many jobs do
No.
you have? Better add 3 more. Jesus.
Just no.
Mm-mm.
Might be a great game.
No.
But no.
No.
If you like to
Also,
change
Bob,
it,
we're Europeans. We have one job.
yeah, no,
Americans is 10 years.
no, you need 2 jobs at minimum to go play Warhammer 40K. 2 jobs or a printer, or a 3D printer, whichever one you want. But yeah, God. Okay.
So only to distract Bob from his misery, you started painting with miniatures. Did you ever consider doing any like painting in classic painting on paper
No.
or wooden stuff or anything like that?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
So
I didn't. I'm an office worker, and I needed something to do, to a hobby, something to do with my hands. And I started woodworking, but there's not enough free space in our house, so I have no real hobby room to do this. And I did it in the garden. Yeah, and when you start building or crafting a bed in the garden, and yeah, all your neighbors are very amused of the sound of
Yeah.
circular saw and a miller and such. And my wife said, "No, that doesn't work. Don't do this. It's loud. It's dirty. Everything is the windows. Everything is full of wooden dust. And no, don't do this." So I didn't do this anymore.
I got a
And
question.
I needed something
Yeah.
else. So, yeah.
So how does your wife feel about painting, about you painting miniatures and stuff like that? Because I know a lot of times some wives are like, hey, that's cool, that's you're out of my hair type thing, but then some wives are like, why are you playing this nerdy game type thing? And like, what's your wife think about that? I mean, I don't want to pry like too much, but yeah, I mean, like, I was just curious.
She's the latter one.
What's that?
She's the latter one. So no, she doesn't she doesn't like that hobby.
No.
Absolutely not. I'd say. Yes, but it's my thing,
Yeah.
I do this in my man cave, and yeah. What else could I do in the evening? Yeah, watch TV? No.
Yeah.
Playing games on my Xbox? Yeah, maybe, but no. I prefer painting.
Yeah, it's very
Listening
relaxing.
and yeah, listening to an audiobook. The new BattleTech audiobooks are so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Trent Sparks as a narrator, and I've heard them plenty of times. And yeah, I'm just sitting here painting my stuff and listening to mostly
Well,
Trent
at
Sparks.
least his wife comes into the man cave. He's like, "Oh, I wish you didn't do painting," and you just pick up the circular saw and go, "All right."
Oh, that might be a good idea. Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a nail gun.
Oh God,
oh
man.
god. Back
Thankfully.
to the actual topic.
Yeah.
So you're painting obviously Star Wars BattleTech. Have you tried painting any other miniatures? And if you have, what are the differences between different franchises in terms of miniatures and styles and those kind of things?
Textures and everything else.
Yeah. I mostly, as you said, paint Star Wars miniatures and BattleTech. I painted some Legion stuff, Star Wars Legion.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was fun too. But I really prefer painting mechs and some smaller busts, like the Siri bust from Witcher on my Flickr, for example.
Beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. God. Yes, and I have to say that painting these busts and such models is a very demanding and satisfying thing to me. But you're just putting them on a shelf, and that's it. And BattleTech miniatures are miniatures you play with, and that's something that catches me every time. And I want to play this mech next time when I meet a friend. I got one buddy here, and we sometimes play BattleTech, but as I said, I'm still looking for a group. And I absolutely don't want to play with an unpainted miniature. That's a no-go. No gray plastic. No. Yeah, but to come back to your question, yeah, I painted Legion, Star Wars, X-Wing, BattleTech. I've got some Robotech miniatures here because there is a Robotech board game I just bought for myself.
That's a
And
the big box for it's like the $80 in the States. Like it's a big one.
yes,
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking
exactly
about.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all I did so
Okay.
far.
Okay. Cool.
So,
And
Oh, go ahead.
so
I'm sorry. The big the big difference between a starship like on Star Wars X-Wing and BattleTech is that you have to consider several things on a BattleTech miniature that you don't have to on a starship, like light sources, like basing, like dirty feet, like things like that,
Okay.
and that makes it interesting, more interesting.
And I've seen a video recently about from a Warhammer painter coming into BattleTech who kind of said things along the lines of, "I do miss painting the organic figures, the aliens and demons." Do you share those sentiments with BattleTech?
I haven't painted many of those. I painted the Doom board game. That were the first humanoid miniatures I painted. And when I did that, I didn't know how to clean mold lines and that you should clean them because otherwise you see them even on the painted miniature and such.
Mm.
But I cannot miss it because I haven't done it often enough to actually miss it.
Okay. Yeah. I got one question. Have you like I know like Way the Brush does does commissions. Would you consider doing that as well?
I'm no commission painter.
No.
No. So sometimes I do,
Mhm.
but I give them to
Okay.
others. I've painted some, and currently working on one for you, Bob.
Yeah, I saw that one.
You know that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorcerer Wolverine, the Sorcerer like Wolverine, right?
Yeah. With the sorcerer staff. Um, but I sometimes I sell them. Yeah, I sold one on eBay
Mhm.
because if you paint BattleTech miniatures for yourself, you usually pick one faction
Yeah.
and you paint your miniatures. But for Camospecs, there is some diversity needed, and I don't have use for all of them. And I've sold 3 miniatures so far.
Mhm.
Yes, 3. One on eBay, and for me, it is that people, especially if it's a Camospecs miniature, are bidding a lot of money for them. As far as I understand, it's a lot of money,
Mhm.
and I want to give something back. So I donate a certain amount to charity
Wow. Okay.
from
Cool.
those.
Cool.
So as Kinderdorf, for example, it's they care for homeless children
Mhm.
in Germany and worldwide. As far as I know, I put some of the money in the Camospecs fund because Camospecs has expenses,
Mhm.
so you won't see ads on our website, for example, and server hosting and things like that. Yeah, it costs money. So I put some money into this fund. PayPal demands and eBay, they
Mhm.
all want their piece of this cake,
True. True.
um, and I keep what's left over.
Okay.
But it's nothing I want to do as a commission painter. I don't want to be a commission painter.
Yeah. Basically, do it as for love. Basically, love of the game and love of actually painting, and personal relaxation type thing. And that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. Yeah, I definitely get that. Yeah. How much money and time do you spend on BattleTech? Basically, on painting.
Too much.
Too
That's a
much.
short answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it is.
Yeah, usually I usually paint in the evenings for maybe 2.5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do something different, but it's my common evening thing I do. And how much money do I spend on this? Yes. I don't know. I just don't know.
There's an unspecified
Yeah.
number. Basically, we all kind of just figure in with like, it's fun. Like I know, like for myself, when I buy stuff, say books or games or like whatever, it's like I can spend $40, get a book and play it and have fun and read it for hours on time, or I can spend $40 for 20 minutes at a bar. Easy. And that's how I justify myself. Yeah, that's how I justify spending money.
It's a very easy calculation.
Yeah,
that's it. I got plenty of paints here, and paints are not that cheap. And brushes, airbrush and such. So I spent pretty much money on the hobby, but you can use that stuff like not forever, but for years. And so if you put an over the years calculation, it's okay. It's cheaper than smoking, I'd say.
Exactly.
I mean, most things are, aren't they?
Yeah, true.
Let's perhaps though jump ahead a bit. We got one external question from Heichi. How much should you spend or budget in order to get started with painting miniatures, and what tools do you need to get started?
Oh yes. Okay. How much should you spend? It's a question I don't know how to
direction.
answer.
Is it gonna be in the $50 range? Is it in the $100 range?
No,
$200,
it's
$500?
It's more in the $50 range, I'd say.
Okay.
There are things that you can do yourself, build yourself, like a wet palette, for example. Yeah. So
what's that?
You don't. Yeah, you don't use the color straight from the pot. You have to thin it to your needs, and so you put it on a palette. And most of us know the palettes you hold in your hand when you see somebody painting an oil painting. How was that guy called? Bob Ross, I think.
Yeah, Bob Ross. Yeah,
Bob Ross. Yes. Yeah, that kind of palette. That's a dry palette. You can use a piece of plastic for it, or yes, or you use a
white paper.
Yeah.
And so, like, you mean thinning, as in basically you put the dab in the wet palette, basically, and kind of like drag it out, so like it will thin out a little bit more, like instead of actually using the big, like I said, actually just steep it, like dipping it into the paint.
Yeah, a wet palette is basically some kind of a flat bowl.
If you would like to, I can demonstrate for the YouTube audience at least how you can build one yourself. I have one right in my hand.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Oh,
yeah.
So basically the idea is you need some kind of tissue-like surface that you can wet. So we have a wet palette. And all you really need for that is take some kind of small bowl. Like I have this lunchbox right here. I took some sponge cleaning cloth that I cut to size to put in there. And then I can put water in this, put my paints in. And when I'm done, I'm going to close it up. so the paints stay fresh for a couple of days. That's a red palette,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and it's
Yeah, that you missed one
$2.
thing. Yeah. You should use some how is it called, the paper you wrap
Oh yeah,
your
baking
breakfast
paper or
baking
breakfast paper.
papers, breakfast paper. Yes, that's where
Yeah.
you put on
Yeah,
the
don't put
sponge
your
and
paints directly on this. Put it on some kind of flat.
exactly.
Okay.
If you use it regularly, I recommend to buy a red palette. I've got this Red Grass Games. It's one of those most common wet palettes, and it's pretty good because you won't have problems with molding, with stinking, and that. And it keeps fresh. It keeps your colors fresh for days. So that's my recommendation. But you can, as Ian, yeah, exactly. As Ian showed us, you can do it yourself. So you spend maybe $2 on it.
Okay.
And I'd say you need 5 brushes. Yeah, 5 different brushes. So a size 0 and a size 1 brush, preferably a Kolinsky brush, so natural hair. Then a small, cheap makeup brush for dry brushing. Then a larger synthetic brush, maybe size 2, and a small synthetic brush for metallics. The large one is for washes, the small one for metallics.
So, like, what do you mean by like washes and dry brushing? Like, what is dry brushing?
Yeah, dry brushing is you dab your brush into paint and wipe it dry. So yeah, there's almost none paint left on the brush, and you brush very smoothly over your miniature, and that little bit of paint that is still in your brush highlights the edges that it touches when brushing over it.
Okay.
And yes,
And
it's
they're good.
an easy way to highlight.
And that brings out like all the raised areas.
Yes, the raised areas.
Okay.
I don't like it very much, but you know, the alternate method would be a little bit advanced method, like glazing highlights and such. And dry brushing, especially for a beginner, is a good way. It's a very good way. Yes.
And washes you were talking about.
Yeah, a wash is highly saturated and very diluted paint or ink that flows into the crevices and recesses of the miniature. So it creates more volume.
Okay. So basically, the dry brush brings out the raised edges, and the washes bring out the crevices and stuff like that. Correct?
Exactly.
And like, should you do two of those at once, or basically dry brush and a wash, or it just matters what's you like, I guess, or something, right?
One at a time.
It's very basic, these techniques, but I do both of them. Yeah. First washing and then dry brushing when everything is dry, so you don't smear the paint on a miniature. What's important to know is the sizes of brushes are not standardized. If you buy a size 1 brush from let's say Raphael and compare it to Winsor & Newton, the size is entirely different. But you have a good idea when I say it's size 0. It's a small one, very small, and size 1 is a little bit. It has more volume. You don't want brushes that are very, very small. What you want when buying a brush is a brush that has a sharp tip. You need the body of the bristles. You need it because it stores the paint. If you get yourself a very small brush, 4x0, for example, and you put it in your paint, and you have the problem that the tip might be dry before it touches the miniature.
Ah, okay.
So that's not the kind of brush you usually need when painting. So
That or you're
0
stuck
and 1
going.
are fine.
So it's just or that, or sometimes you're just stuck going back and forth to the pot all over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're swearing because the tip is always dry on your brush and you can't paint. And nah.
I know, like with my orcs, when I used to play that game called 40K, I would actually just kind of just do a standard primer, which is from Walmart, and then do the green, and then do a dry brush, and then do a wash, just a little bit, like on that, just to kind of get in the crevices, so that it has like your skin's kind of dirty per se. And but what type of primer would be good though? Because I noticed like the type of primers that I use were just crap, basically, because I don't want to spend $30 for a freaking 40K primer. So I went to Walmart, bought like the $2 can type thing. But what are a good primers to use for painting for painting Battletech figures?
I use Vallejo primers, the Mecha range,
Okay.
because I found them to be very good. I've never tried cheap primers.
I mean, they
don't.
worked. They worked for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I couldn't glob it on. When I first started, I globbed it on. Basically, it's like, type of thing. But I figured that basically just a little bit of primer. Doesn't have to cover like everything, but you get the whole base of the model pretty much, as much as you can without having it too globbed on there. It actually looks pretty good instead of actually just like a big glob on it. But yeah. Okay.
I use two different primers, different colored primers, because I use the primer as an underpaint as well.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so basic recommendation for primers: don't go with the cheapo car primer or wood primer you can find at the hardware store.
Yeah.
Spend the extra. I mean,
Yeah, spend the extra
these
money for
models,
it.
$10-15.
They are not very expensive, and you can buy them in 60 milliliters dropper bottles, in 17 milliliter dropper bottles, and the small ones you get for $2.50 or $3 or so.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and you're talking about the airbrush version of those, right?
say again.
You're talking about the airbrush size there, because milliliter, I think most spray bottles have a gram thing.
Oh yeah, these are the rattle cans. You can buy the rattle cans. They're perfectly fine, but you can brush them. You can use primers and dropper bottles and brush them on. You don't necessarily use an airbrush for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What else do you need? We were talking about the brushes. Yes. The makeup brush. I suggest to use a cheap makeup brush for the dry brushing, because they are cheap and work perfectly fine. And dry brushing destroys your paint in almost your brush in almost no time.
Yeah.
Just ask your girlfriend before you steal their makeup brushes.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're gonna get in big trouble.
I went into a drugstore and they sold them for less than $1 for one.
That's not bad.
Each, and I got plenty of them. Then the large synthetic brush is for washes, because you don't want to use your expensive or more expensive natural hair brushes, Kolinsky sable brushes for that, because the wash or shade, which is basically the same, is so thin that it runs in all along your bristles into the ferrule, and the ferrule that's the metal part of your brush is the one that gives the shape to the belly, to the bristles, and just use a cheap synthetic brush and you're fine with that. And the small synthetic brush I use for metallics, because the particles in that create the metallic effect wear down your natural hair quite fast, and so I use a cheap synthetic brush, and you usually don't paint larger areas with metallics when painting BattleTech.
So how about actually the cockpits themselves? I've been noticing a lot of different mechs out there, and there's beautiful looking kind of like a shade for the cockpit, kind of like a I don't know, just like the halo behind me. It makes just like that one. It looks really really good, and I don't know how people do that though for the cockpits for BattleTech. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I suck at painting cockpits. But basically, you can paint a cockpit by putting your dark base color, maybe a black or dark gray or whatever, dark blue. Paint the entire cockpit glass, and then you remember your imaginary light source that you want to shine on your miniature.
Yeah.
And
okay.
you glaze into that direction, so the cockpit gets brighter and brighter to the light source. And in the opposite corner of the cockpit, you might simply put a small white dot to create another reflection. That's basically it.
Okay.
But there you can go fancy ways, like my fellow painters Roshido or Crackerbox do, and that's not very easy, and I'm still struggling painting these kinds of cockpits. Yeah, the one on the Timberwolf I painted, it's a museum scale I did with an airbrush, but painting a cockpit with an airbrush of a game size mech is not that easy.
So basically start with a base of dark color, and then kind of figure out what light source you want to have it from. That's where the and then basically I don't know, do a lighter type thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe until you're almost white.
Okay, I get it now. I get it. Okay, cool. Cool. I'm now a master painter. Thank you. I will now paint them.
Already, Bob?
Already.
Oh no, we haven't even gotten half our questions yet.
I know.
I'm amazed, Bob. I'm gonna be looking forward to your miniature by the end of the stream.
Oh, that's gonna take a long while, man.
Bob is doing speed painting now.
Oh my.
Yeah, speed paint.
boy.
Well, I used to do was like assembly line painting with orcs, because paint all the arms of a whole unit of 30 guys, paint all the bodies, just assembly line type thing. But I mean, that was fast. That was just like tabletop ready, not like this looks cool ready. It was just tabletop. Look, it's green with some stuff on them, and that's basically what it was.
Okay. So we've already dove kind of into some of the basic and advanced techniques. Do you have any online tutorials you would recommend for people wanting to properly learn them in their own time?
Of course. We've got a YouTube channel at Camospecs, and that covers plenty of techniques, and it's I can really recommend diving into this, watching these videos, because most of them are made by by B1B Flyer, and he puts a lot of effort into that. But there are other YouTubers that have very, very good videos on their channels, like Age of Squidma, Miniac, Sorastro, Don Seratos, Deodan, Angel Giraldes. He's Spanish. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I'll leave links down below, basically on all these too, to kind of help people out, give some ideas and stuff like that. I do have one question besides what we're talking about. What is the hardest unit to paint out of all the different units that you've seen, as far as the Camospecs and like everything, like all the different BattleTech units? What would be the hardest unit to go paint as far as a paint job?
Which mech have you had the worst experience with? Like, which has the most awkward angles?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one I found the most difficult was the Manowar Gargoyle.
Okay.
Because it has a very small cockpit glass and many crevices, and you had to do a lot of preparation work on this miniature. So this one was a tough one, yes.
Okay.
And maybe the Nova, because of all of those lasers on the arms, and it's hard to paint between the arms and the torso, those areas and such. I'd say
sorry, go ahead.
these.
Do you put together the mechs themselves first, or do you like paint the body and then paint the arms and attach them? You know, like what do you do, like as far as that?
Yeah, the Catalyst mechs come pre-assembled, so the only thing I usually do is to cut them off from their bases and drill holes into their soles.
You drill into the soles, huh? Does that hurt?
Yes. not yes.
Okay.
Okay. But to make it clear, the SOLES soles, not the SOUL. Okay. I put a piece of wire in them and put them on a painting handle then. So that's basically all I do with them when it comes to assembly or disassembly. But the ones from Iron Metal, they have to be assembled, and I pre-assemble them. Yes.
Yeah,
I assemble them before painting. Yeah.
And would you recommend these actually go and use for BattleTech and stuff like that?
No.
No. No. Okay.
I got one of these. No, they are fine. If you got one, yes, they are okay. But the thing is, if you're like me and remove the miniature from the base, you cannot use this handle because you need the base to mount them. That's why I said no.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you can, as Ian just put it up, you can use a wooden stick, but I've got those Radcore handles. They are made from, I think it's called Steffen Rath. He's a German painter, and has this line you can get from PK Pro, and they are just awesome. You basically pin your miniature onto a piece of cork, and you have to see them. And they got a metal bar that goes overhead the miniature.
Can you say the name again? Maybe I can bring up a picture for YouTube at least.
Okay, Rathcore, RATHCORE.com. Yeah, and these are just great. and
Oh, the
I
miniature
really
grip?
love them.
Okay.
Miniature grip V3 is it? The ones that I use.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, but there are also other miniature handles, but I like those can put a pinned miniature on them. There are others like the ones from Redgrass Games that use mounting putty, but I really don't like that. I don't like putty on my mech's feet
You don't like putty
because
on your mech's feet? Yeah, true.
yes.
Not a lot of people do.
Yeah, the problem is the putty and the paint is something that adheres very good.
Okay.
So
Okay.
putty on bare plastic is okay. You can remove it, no problem. But if you you paint your miniature and there's paint on the feet, maybe fresh paint, and it sticks to the putty, it sticks forever.
Okay. Okay.
So we were talking about basic tutorials to get started. I have one final question to finish off that segment. Out of all the tutorials on the Camospecs online, do we have like one favorite video that you would recommend people to watch very first?
No.
Just all of them?
No.
All of them. Just watch every single one of them, guys.
Yeah, just
Or just
everything.
pick
Yes.
whatever
Yeah,
roughly
they're
looks like you
different.
wanna go for
Some
it.
of them cover like painting checkers. How do you paint checkers properly? Others show you how to paint cockpits. Then there are tutorials that show you how to paint maybe the Black Widow's Daishi or Direwolf, the Direwolf Widowmaker. Yes, those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll be honest, this one blew me kind of away, the easy camo tutorial, where basically the first layer of code was already better than anything I ever painted before
I know, mine too. Oh my god. Yeah. Just that right there is better than anything I did. It looks worn and used, basically, and that's awesome. I love that. Oh my god.
I guess I just killed one of my brushes because I'm still that nervous that I'm fiddling on one of my brushes here, and it almost
Don't
got
break
no
'em.
bristles left.
Don't break them.
It's too late. I already broke it. Whoops.
That happens. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. We have so many things in our questions that we're excited to hear about. Let's go colors next.
Yeah.
Let's maybe not go too deep into colors, but just general. There are a lot of different color types, very confusing for beginners, like watercolors, acrylic colors, oil colors, so on and so forth. Which one of those is best for miniature painting? And do you have any brand and specific color recommendations a beginner should pick up?
Yeah, the most common ones are acrylic paints, and I'd recommend using them. I've never used oil paints so far. I got some here, but I never tried them. But when I started painting, when I painted my first model, I did that in the 80s, I think, with my grandpa, and he's got he had those this animal paints, and they're pretty hazardous and take a long time to dry, but I wouldn't recommend using these. Use acrylic paints, and you're good to go. Yeah, and I almost only use Vallejo colors because they are of phenomenal quality. They are really, really good, and they are not that expensive, like Citadel, for example.
And that's Vallejo, you said, right?
Yes, yeah, and they come in dropper bottles, and you want dropper bottles. Believe me, you want dropper bottles. You don't want pots. Yeah, Yeah, I can really recommend them. Yeah, as I said, the first colors I got in touch with were those animal paints from Rebel those days, and yeah, when I painted my first mech in mid 90s, I slept so much of this paint on the mech that yeah, although it was a pewter paint, a pewter mech, it was twice as heavy afterwards. Um, and yeah, in that game store I mentioned before, they had the Citadel Colors, and that were the ones I bought when I got back into the hobby, the paint. I had no painting hobby before, but when I started painting about 2.5 years ago, and I bought plenty of them, and I sold almost all of them because I wasn't satisfied with them, because they come in paint pots, and no, you don't want paint pots because you don't paint from the pot, you paint from a palette.
Okay. Okay.
And they dry out pretty fast, and they are very expensive compared to Vallejo, for example.
And that's
And
acrylic
then-
paints, right? Like, and that's acrylic
Yeah.
paints again. Okay. Okay.
And then Vallejo and a lot of the other paints have like those beginner sets to get started. Do you know off your top of your head any recommendations for that, or do you just
Yes.
buy individual colors?
No, I just bought individual colors because yeah, I had most of the colors from Citadel, and yeah, at one point I decided to switch to Vallejo, and I bought the colors that I didn't already own from Citadel. And at one point I put all of them together in a package and put it into eBay, and then they were gone. And meanwhile, I got about 250, 300 paints here. It's almost only Vallejo.
Cool.
or Vallejo.
Cool. Yeah. Cool deal.
So I guess if anyone has specific questions for what kind of color they might use for what type of miniature, they could hit you up on Twitter probably.
Of course, anytime.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
And then going on from colors to material, now Battletech miniatures come in a variety of materials. You have the official resin stuff, you have 3D printed plastics, you have the older plastics, you have metal miniatures. Which one of those would you recommend for beginners, and which do you prefer personally?
I think for beginners, I recommend the pre-assembled plastic miniatures from Catalyst Game Labs. You have some cleaning to do, so removing mold lines and such, but you don't have to assemble them. They are sturdy. You can easily paint them, and I think, especially for a beginner, that's pretty good. If you got those iron wind metal pewter miniatures, it's sometimes hard to assemble them because they are heavy, and you usually have to pin the parts together.
Yeah.
So
Loads
sit
of rubber
here.
bands and all those things.
No, I'm sitting here for hours drilling tiny holes into them, and putting spring steel into these holes, gluing them in, and yeah, I'm connecting the parts that way. So
I mean,
just not just gluing them together, but one hole on this side, one hole on the other side, some spring steel, and you're good to go. But that's not if you're very new and just getting into the hobby, I think that might be too frustrating. Resin is cool. Resin is you can have very detailed models with a resin, but a resin is yeah, it's hard to get when it comes to Battletech miniatures, because I'm not talking about the 3D printed ones.
I don't think I actually
I'm
did
I'm
resin
just using.
figures like normally though. Like I never seen a resin figure. Most of the time it's been either pewter, then the next one which is actually was lead a long time ago, and then went to
Yeah.
pewter and then went to plastics. You basically like some type of
Mm,
plastic, but resin I haven't seen unless it's molded ones like I used to do for 40K a long time ago, where you
yeah.
use resin to go build those. But I really haven't seen resin ones.
I've heard that there is a Marauder that you have to assemble yourself. It does come pre-assembled like the one in the boxes and the lens boxes,
Okay.
and that was for the Russian Kickstarter. I've seen this on Fortress Miniatures. That's the only time I've seen this. I don't know much about it, but I was told that this one is made from resin, and
Okay.
the rest, yeah, the dropships. But you can get other miniatures and made from resin from other brands, Ouroboros miniatures, for example, and so.
Okay.
And resin miniatures are great. They are really great. They are very detailed, and I really love them. The only thing is, if these are 3D printed ones, you have the problem that you see all those layers, those tiny layers, and that makes it look not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
True.
have to do a lot of sanding and such.
Yeah, as someone who does 3D printing, you don't want to do that when you're a beginner. You're gonna have to take the miniatures and sand it down properly to get clean edges, and even then, it's very likely your wash is not gonna look as good because you're gonna have flat lines on your model, basically. So if you're a beginner and someone offers you 3D printed stuff, it's nice to practice potentially, but it's probably not gonna look as good as a straight up plastic from Catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for painting, I prefer resin. I like painting resin very much, but not the printed ones.
Right, so then painting, we just saw on the tutorials, the guy doing the tutorial using a very thin paint. What's your opinion on that? How thin should a paint be?
And how do you thin it?
Yeah. How thin it should be, I don't think there's a correct answer to this.
Trick
It
question.
should cover. It should cover properly, because if you thin it too much, you destroy the adherence of the paint, and that's not what you want. How do you paint it properly? There are different ways to thin a paint. I usually use water, distilled water, for this, because a paint consists of pigment for the color, and they are currently, I think it's 550 something different pigments that are used to make colors, and you don't necessarily have only one kind of pigment in a color or in a paint. You have the pigment, you have a filler, which is usually calcium carbonate, and that stuff is milky white and dries clear. That's why if you paint or apply paint onto a miniature and it dries, the paint gets darker, a little darker.
Okay.
Yes, and you have acrylic resin. That's why we call them acrylic paints, and a solvent, usually water. And if you use water, you just water it down. You thin the paint, and you can do that to a certain degree. If you use a medium, there are different mediums like acrylic resin glaze medium from Vallejo, or the famous Lamian medium from Citadel, for example. That's basically a paint without a pigment. And what do you achieve when using such a medium to thin a paint? You make it translucent because you basically add clear resin to the paint you have, and you can use it to glaze. But if you just want to thin your paint for painting, just use water, because that's the solvent used for the water. If you have a paint that is alcohol based, you can't use water. You need alcohol because that is the solvent in that paint. Water is fine. Yes.
And then you probably can just look at your paint on the back, and it should state whether it's using water or alcohol, right?
Yes. But the Vallejo paints, for example, they are almost all of them are water based, and it's on the paint. Yeah. There's a note on the paint if it's alcohol or.
Do you have any horror stories of people trying to thin their paint with alcohol and it going wrong?
No.
Oh, sad face.
That sounds
No.
from experience, right? Right. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I've ever done it. I'm just gonna say that didn't look quite as I expected it to.
Yeah, what's a
think-
good way to actually get paint off your paintbrushes? Like, what do you use? Paint thinner, or like what's best?
No.
No.
I got 3 water pots here
Mm-hmm.
for cleaning my paints. And in the first pot, that's my dirty pot, because there's water in it and some dishwasher soap or some hair shampoo. Because what's good for your hair must be good for your bristles, because it's basically hair. Yeah. So
Never thought about that, but yeah.
yeah, I rinse my brushes in this pot as long as they are dirty, and we could say I pre-clean them. Then I have a second pot to rinse all the dirty water off,
Mm-hmm.
and in this one I use distilled water, and in the third pot is to clean to make it really clean. Yeah, I rinse the rest of the not so dirty water of the second pot off in this one.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
That's also distilled water, because I don't want all of the stuff you have in normal tap water to stick on my bristles and damage them.
That seems like you really
Yeah.
take care of your brushes there. Like, I know, like for me, man, I just pop, boom, done, and throw it in the box, basically.
Yeah. No, I also have two products here that I really, or 3 products, in fact, that I really can recommend. The one is brush soap. I have this Master's brush soap, which is very great for cleaning your brush.
Mm-hmm.
But you can use almost every kind of soap for this. And I have from Vallejo the brush cleaner, which I use if I recognize that some of the paint worked almost into the ferrule,
Mm-hmm.
and or there's some paint that already dried on my brush, which shouldn't happen. So I use this brush cleaner. I clean it first with all the water and then the brush cleaner, and I have a brush restorer that seems to be some kind of an oil. And I put the brush in there and then reshape it. So I have that sharp tip that we always want again, and then I lay the brush aside until I need it the next time.
Okay. Wow. Learn something new every day. Now I'm gonna have to start taking care of my brushes.
Yeah. You have to treat them like the little princesses they are.
True. True.
Yeah, good brushes are not that cheap. I have those Raphael 8404 brushes, my favorite brushes, and they cost maybe $15 each, and you don't want to have to throw it away after 2 weeks or so. and the ones I have, they last for already 1.5 to 2 years. You just have to take care of them properly, and
Yeah,
they last
I pretty
long.
much went to the dollar store and picked up a pack of brushes, and Walmart picked up some, depending what this one I was doing orcs, not now, basically, but I just picked up a pack of just cheap brushes that I use, and basically like I do have a couple that I kind of really take care of because they're my detail brushes for the detail parts I want to go do on different gun parts and all that kind of stuff. But most of the time, I mean, this is me. This is me because I'm a moron. Just basically, don't heed what I'm saying. It just works for me, basically. That's all.
I use those brushes. Those are my daily drivers for detail too,
Okay.
because it's just a sharp tip.
Yeah.
As long as you have a sharp tip, it's everything is good. Everything is fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. One broad question I thought I just wanted to ask was, what for you personally was the biggest obstacle to getting into painting? At least for me personally, like when I want to do fine detail, my hands sort of vibrate a bit. They don't hold very steady, and personally, I have issues with chemicals. But that's just me. But I was wondering for you, what are the biggest issues and how you overcame them?
Okay. When I started mini painting, my paint always was too thick, and I used too much paint. And one of my buddies that also plays the Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game is also a Age of Sigma. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
Yeah.
called Age of Sigma
Yeah.
Yeah.
player, and he paints a lot. And he always said, "Ollie, thin your paints. You have to thin your paints. That you don't know. Don't slap the paint on the miniature. Don't do that." Yeah. And I said, "Okay, I do my best. I thin my paints." And the next time I showed him one of my miniatures, he said, "We talked about thinning paint, please thin your paints." I did. Yes, but no. And lucky me, I also have a buddy that learned modeling, model making, and he made cars for exhibitions, for example. So original size,
Oh wow.
huge
Okay.
size models.
Mhm.
And he had a lot of tips for me and said, "Hey, do it this way, do it that way, and try this." Yes, and the both of them, they pushed me forward. But the biggest obstacle was really to thin the paint and get it onto the miniature so it had the coverage I wanted.
Okay.
And
Okay.
when I started, I was in the opinion that you need one layer and you're fine. And that's not how it works. No, there are sometimes many layers you need until a paint work. Don't slap so much paint on your miniature until it covers. So you have a very opaque feeling of this paint. No,
Okay.
thin layer,
Yeah.
dry, next layer.
Like I think we touched on washes, but can you go over washes again about how to create a wash, or should you buy the store-bought washes that say like Vallejo wash or whatever, depending what they are. Like I know, like I used to get like a face wash basically, and it helps to bring out the crevices like in the face when you use miniatures. But what is a good way to do a wash? Is like 3 parts by 1, or something like that.
um, I haven't created wash ever.
Okay, and just
Oh no, that's not correct. I have one that I
mhm.
made, but it's just a mix of other washes. So okay,
Okay.
But as far as I know, a wash consists mainly of, if you want to create a wash, you use an ink
hmm
and mix it with a flow improver, thinner water, and that's basically it.
And what do you mean by ink? Is that the paint itself or what?
Yes.
Okay, okay, yeah. So just just a little bit of ink and then a lot of water.
Yeah, I'd use flow improver and acrylic thinner
Acrylic thinner.
for
Okay,
this.
okay.
Yeah, flow improver is a good way to make a wash less a filter, because every time you apply a wash, you put it over the whole miniature,
hmm
usually, unless you're doing pin washing. So you paint the miniature in that wash, and it filters the paint, so it's getting darker. And
Okay.
if you mix it with airbrush flow improver, it runs into the crevices a lot better and doesn't darken your miniature that much. So I have those Citadel Wash range, and those were the paints I kept
hmm
from Citadel, because their washes are really, really good. And I have a pot unthinned and one pot that is mixed 50-50 approximately,
Okay.
flow improver and the wash itself.
Okay. Cool. Um, for finishes, like how do you make a paint job, or how long do you make a paint job last? Like, what's an average time period for a mech? I know like a lot of details. It probably takes about a week or so, basically get it done or something, But what's the average time you spend on one mech when you paint them?
It's between 12 and 16 hours.
12 and 16 hours per mech. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. That's, oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can paint a mech in 2 hours, but that doesn't involve advanced techniques. So you just
Just paint basically.
prime it, paint it,
hmm
maybe put some layers on it, and do some washes and dry brushing, and that's it. So that one is tabletop ready, maybe. But I always try to push myself to get better, and that's it takes time. It's always a
Okay.
learning process.
And then how the finish question was intended, my girlfriend actually asked this one. How do you make the paint job last? Like, I've seen a lot of older miniatures that lose their paint over time. Do you have any tricks to
okay.
prolong the life of the
Yeah,
paint job?
yeah. Um, you can do this by using varnishes, and basically there are three kinds of varnishes when it comes to their finish. It's matte, it's satin, and it's gloss. And the most sturdy one is gloss varnish. So if you have a mini you handle a lot, I suggest you put some gloss varnish on it. Let this fully cure, and then you can put a second coat on it. And for this, you use a satin or a matte varnish. And you'll by handling this, this second coat will wear off on the edges, but the gloss varnish beneath will likely protect the underlying paint enough so the paint remains on the
Yeah,
miniature.
Okay.
I can speak from experience. I had metal miniatures for Warhammer and took them out to the store so often they would get just scratched and scraped every now and then. I was like, I need to stop having to repaint my models, and I figured out the varnishing.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
since we were talking about varnishes and finishes, what was I going for? I was going for something. Never mind. Ignore me for now. Is there something like with furniture? Sometimes you hear like keep away from direct sunlight. Is something like that for miniatures too as well?
I wouldn't put them into direct sunlight. I don't know how all of the colors behave when exposed to the UV part of the sunlight. So it might be that
Yeah.
they bleach out, but what I can say is that if you use decals on them, decals will be harmed by the sunlight.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah, there will be it will bleach it out over time, and also the continual heating and cooling will, particularly if you haven't varnished it, will potentially make the paint slowly peel away with time. I've seen it sort of dries on the model. So yeah, if you can, you want to leave your models in a more out of direct sunlight in a more secluded area.
I
And
think I
then,
have to write to Vallejo to ask if they have some kind of a UV filter in their varnishes.
probably. I've seen it for nails. Can you just use nail varnish on miniatures? Probably,
Oh,
right?
I don't know.
I mean, it's
Don't know that.
worth a shot. I mean, it's just varnish. Should be fine, right? But what I was going for with when you mentioned the glossy varnish, you mentioned something really interesting yesterday. Your safe game with this kind of technique. Can you
Yes.
tell us what your safe game is while painting?
Yeah. I call it a safe game, yes. I usually put some varnish on between some steps. So when I've primed my miniature, I always use zenithal highlights when priming, and base coated the miniature. I put some satin varnish on it, and that's my safe game. So you have to know before I proceed, the difference between dry and cured. When you put your varnish on, or when you put paint on a miniature, it usually dries in a couple of minutes. But the paint and the varnish, they take time to fully cure. It's several hours, let's say 12 to 25 hours, maybe. I don't know exactly. But then this paint, this varnish is very sturdy. And when I applied my base color and put some varnish on it, and it is cured, I have the option, that's that so-called safe game, to remove paint without harming the miniature or the paint that lies underneath. And for doing this, if I made a mistake painting, I'm using airbrush cleaner on a brush and simply brush over that area with a mistake. And I have a second brush, a dry brush, to pick up the airbrush cleaner back again from the miniature. And yeah, and I can start over at that point.
I got a question.
Easy. Yeah.
I got a question. Like, since we're talking about getting paint off figures, what's a good way to get paint off the plastic ones? Like, I know there's a lot of plastic ones for selling on eBay that I'll just pick up and use for practice and stuff like that. But what's a good way to get the paint off the plastic ones?
I use isopropyl alcohol. Is it called
Okay.
that way?
Mm-hmm.
Isopropanol?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Okay, and I simply drown them in that stuff. I also
Violent.
use that for.
I like it. Violent. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also use that for cleaning my airbrush. I've got an ultrasonic cleaner and fill it with isopropanol, and I put my airbrush in that for cleaning, for example.
Okay.
Disassembled and pre-cleaned, and it works very good. And I also use that for miniatures I want to strip the paint off. So I simply use a small bowl with a lid, pour isopropyl in it, drop the miniature, drown it in it for maybe a few days. I think maybe
just
half a day would be enough. And then I put it out and use a dental prosthesis brush because they are
Okay.
very sturdy and last
Yeah.
forever, and brush all the paint off. And when almost all of the paint was removed, I drop it into the ultrasonic cleaner with the alcohol and give it another run,
Mhm.
brush again, and then the paint should be gone.
Okay. Good. Thanks. I got a lot of figures I gotta go do that with because I've been practicing and they've been sucking. So I need to go ahead and put
It,
those in there. Cool.
it's messy work. It's so messy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've heard some horror stories about miniatures literally melting when you leave them in the alcohol too long. Have you experienced something like that?
Never.
Okay.
Not with X-wing miniatures. Not with BattleTech miniatures. I think it depends on the plastic that is used, but I can say for sure that with these miniatures you won't have problems.
Okay.
That's very good to hear. Then another thing you mentioned, I'm using all of my insider knowledge from our little talk yesterday. You mentioned a secret weapon. Would you like to
Oh.
elaborate on your secret weapon?
Secret weapon. Okay, cool. I want to hear this.
Shh, it's secret.
Secret.
Okay, fine. Next
Yeah.
question.
There's one paint every painter I think should have at home, and that's white glaze, and maybe
Glaze.
black glaze as well, but a white glaze. It's
Okay.
available from the Vallejo model color range. It's color 70.853. So you see, I really love that paint because I already know the number. And that white glaze is perfect for highlighting miniatures. So
okay.
it's just great. You can mix it into almost every paint to brighten it up a little bit just.
Mhm.
And if you want to do some glazing, to glaze highlights, I usually glaze my highlights. I use this, and it works perfectly fine. And even if you're just someone who does some edge highlighting, you can use it because it works as a filter, as a white filter, and you cannot use normal white paint
Mhm.
because it lacks the translucency needed.
Okay.
And then I have one final question. It goes more towards the basic segment. For people who are fairly new and don't want to put too much time in, what is the, in your opinion, easiest and fastest way to make a semi-good-looking base that's just good enough for most purposes?
Know your tools. That's you have to know what you can use for making an easy base, and I'm a real fan of making easy bases. I don't put too much effort in a base. I just want it to look good, and there are some things you can use for it, like cork, for example. Use some chunks of cork for making rocks. You can make great rocks just out of cork. You can use clump foliage, for example. You can buy that from Woodland Scenics, for example, and they make great bushes. You can go outside and collect some small stones, pebbles, whatever, to use for your base. You can use tufts, but especially when it comes to BattleTech, the tufts you usually can buy are too big. I don't like when you have a mech that is a scale of, I don't know, 1 to 280 something or so, and you have a 6mm tuft on it. You never find grass when you go outside that is 4 meters high. Yeah. So yeah. So tufts are not always the best way to go. That's something. Yeah, you can use texture colors or texture pastes. You can get from different brands. So let's say what have I done recently? I used the Vallejo earth texture, put it onto the base, glued some small stones on it, dry brushed those stones a little with a white, so they look more natural. Put some static grass on it, put some clump foliage on it, and that is something I regard as very important. You have to blend your miniature into the base, and what I see very often is that people just use dry brush, the dry brushing technique on the feet of their mechs, and they achieve the opposite of what they wanted it to look like. Because with dry brushing, you hit the raised edges, and with cumulating dirt, it cumulates not on the edges, but in the recesses. So you have to put that stuff into the recesses. And I love dry pigments. That's a pigment powder, dry pigment powder. You can get from Vallejo, for example. Just use a small brush, dab it into that dust, and then dab it onto the feet and also onto the texture. So you create a very naturally looking effect with that. They have Vallejo has some great earth tones, and you just cover the base that exposes the earth parts, so not the parts where the bushes are, and the feet, and you can fix these dry pigments if you with isopropanol with water, for example, or airbrush thinner, and I usually put it in a spray bottle and spray it onto the base very carefully, and when it's fixed, you can use your varnish on it. You have a very easy base. Another way is you can use some swamp textures, for example, swamp texture pastes. You can use straight from the bottle, slap it on as a set mud and puddles from Vallejo, and there are instructions inside the box, and you can create a very great looking base in 2 minutes, maybe. Yeah, there's another simple method if you have to do many bases, because you went like me and purchased, don't know, maybe 80 mechs or so, and you can use a flock box.
Yeah.
That and some static grass, and you simply have one.
Yeah, I got a box right here.
Oh no, not that one.
Oh, okay.
There is those things are called flocking boxes, and it's basically a metal plate that has high voltage. I think 17,000 volts,
Wow,
and
okay.
you have a cable that you attach to the base, and you put some white glue onto the base and put the static grass on the box, and then you simply put or hover your base over the box, and the grass, the static grass, pops from that that area on the metal plate onto your base, and it stands upright, perfectly fine.
Damn. Okay. I never even heard that one. Never
It
seen
looks
that
easy
before.
though, and it's not expensive.
It's maybe $40 to $50, I think.
Yeah.
it's a great mess because you have the static grass laying everywhere after that. But if you can do it outside and you're good.
Okay, yeah. I get it now. Okay, yeah. That's good. Yeah, it's not bad. That's cool. Huh.
Oh, it's just painted my bases green and called it a day.
Yeah.
Dealing with all the flock falling off was such a nuisance.
Well, yeah, I would
Yeah.
do the I would paint it green first, then glue it, and then do the green flocking. Dip it and like in the green flocking, tap it, get all the extra stuff off, and then pop some grass and rocks basically. And that's how I did mine. But
Yeah, I wanted to do that with our garden. I wanted to remove all the grass and just pour concrete on it, paint it green, and no more lawn mowing.
yeah.
My wife didn't want that.
Jeez. Okay. Okay.
All right, then we have one final sort of topic. Fixing miniatures that are slightly bent or broken out of the box, or rearranging miniatures. Do we have any tricks, techniques you want to share for that purpose?
Yeah, if you have a miniature that is slightly bent, you can put it into hot water or using a hairdryer, for example, and just heat the plastic. It's a thermoplastic, and you can bend it into the right shape. Hold it until it cooled down, and maybe repeat that a couple of times, but then it's good. And you can do that with resin, for example, with the Dropships from the Kickstarter. Just put both parts of the shell into hot water, and after that they are like they feel like sturdy leather, and
Okay.
you can put them into shape and glue them together. And it also works with the plastic mechs from Catalyst Game Labs. Works very good. I had this on the Marauder where the autocannon was bent pretty much, which can happen, and you can simply bend it back. And it's also an easy way to slightly change the arm positions on a mech, for example. But repositioning, you have to cut off the limbs or cut the torso between the upper and lower part, and then you can reposition it. It's the only way so far. And if you have to, if you want to do some modifications on your mech, you can purchase different mod kits or mod parts from Iron Metal. For example, other LRM inlays that fit on your catapult. You simply scratch those out that are already in with a chisel, for example. There are small modeling chisels available, and glue the new one in. Yeah, or you use green stuff, or as I don't like green stuff very much, I only have that stuff sticking to my hands, but not where I want it to be. So I use Milliput. I prefer Milliput.
Yeah, I can use green stuff. Works and worked out. It worked out okay. If you want to add some modeling to it, some unique features, and BattleTech, I don't think I ever used it for BattleTech though, because most of the time they got some good poses anyway, so it's not really the end all be all type thing to mod your mechs type thing, because a lot of times it's exactly like what it is. So like if it's 1A, it's gonna be 1A, and then that's it.
Yeah, modding your mechs in BattleTech has a bit of a stigma, doesn't it?
You could use if you got a rifleman or two riflemen, for example, who plays a rifleman, in your lands, you can cut off the arms and turn them slightly upwards so they look different.
Yeah.
Right. Ollie, do you have any further things you want to go about painting? Any last techniques you want to share? Any other secret weapons?
Love it.
I think there's one common mistake, especially newer painters do, and that is black is not black and white is not white.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you look around and you have maybe the speakers of your computer in front of you, and they are black, look at them and you will find out that they are not really black.
What
They
are
are more
speakers?
like a dark gray, for example, and yeah, or your headset, or your mic,
Mhm.
Ian, your mic. It is, you think it's black because you know it's black, but it isn't. It consists of different gray tones you have, and so this is the way you paint something black.
Yeah, and cat hair, a
Black.
lot of cat hair.
Mm-hmm.
Black is a color you cannot darken any further, and white is a color you cannot highlight any further because it's always the maximum you already have. So if you want to paint something black, the darkest point is in the recesses, and that area that is not exposed to the light source, the imaginary light source. So you can use black there, and everything else is a dark gray, and during the in the direction of your highlight areas, it turns to a lighter black to almost white. And if you
Okay.
want to paint white, you paint a gray, and only the small area that has the brightest highlight, only for this one you use white. Yes, and
Okay.
the problem with miniatures is that light and shadow doesn't work as on a real life size object. So as miniature painters, we have to paint our shadows. Let's take a starship, for example, yeah, or an aircraft, a simple aircraft. Sun shines from above, so the above is exposed to the sunlight, and the underside of the aircraft lies in the shadows. And on a normal life-size aircraft, it's all fine. It is as it is. But if you have a small model plane and you use the same color for the whole aircraft, you don't have that shadow beneath that makes it look authentic. So you have to support this with the paint. You have to paint it slightly darker. That's the highlighting.
Probably
And
like the more advanced, like the more advanced section, right? For the people when they go to start painting their stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
but the easiest way for this is to use zenithal highlighting when priming. That means you simply prime your miniature in a black and use a light gray or white with your airbrush or rattle can,
Mm-hmm.
and pick one direction and spray from this direction onto the miniature. So you have the lighter part on the upside and the darker part on the underside. And how a color looks like on a miniature, or yeah, depends on the underpaint. If you
Okay.
paint a red on a black surface, it looks entirely different from painting it on a white surface.
Oh,
So
okay. Cool. Damn. That's a lot to take in, man.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my god.
I feel like we need subtitles for this episode or like notes that we can check afterwards.
Well, I can plan to leave all the comments down or the links down below. So yeah, any yeah. So,
I think
jeez.
the hardest thing in this episode might be to get what I want to express with my shitty English.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. I mean, Battletech community is throughout the whole world. So I mean, there's many different people that are out there that different languages, different cultures, and everything else. So it's a whole big melting pot, and so it's no big deal at all. No big deal. So is that it for the episode? Is that all?
Well, one final question as we
Okay.
always end our segments.
That's right. Yeah.
How can people support you
Yes.
and broader the Camospecs team and everything you guys do?
Oh, I think there's no way to support me other than being kind on social media. I don't have a Ko-fi, Patreon, or I don't have a YouTube channel, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way, and I don't want that to change. So I like it when I come when I see that people like what I do. Yeah. If you don't like it, you express it. Be kind. Write down your comments and say, hey, I don't like it because of this and that, and why did you do that, and such things. And that's all. And when it comes to Camospecs, we have a YouTube channel, and by you can support us by following us,
Mm-hmm.
by watching and liking our videos.
Okay.
It creates a small amount of money that helps us.
Yeah, I'll leave all the links down below for everything. Camospecs, your Twitter accounts and all that kind of stuff, and Camospecs, their Patreon and YouTube channels and everything else that they have. I'll leave all the different links down below. But I think that is episode 153 of the First Circuit podcast with our usual hosts of Ian.
Bye-bye.
And Biter.
Lark.
And myself, Old Bob 1002, with special guest Ali, or 1in51, terrific painter that taught so much tonight about how to paint. And I mean, I learned a lot of stuff that I'm not going to go cheap anymore, basically. What I'm doing. But I will definitely learn. I will be asking you questions, trust me. And if anyone does have questions about anything tonight about how to paint things, would you mind actually being in the comment section, kind of answering some questions in case people do have questions? Ollie?
I try to answer all the questions.
Okay. Also too,
So
okay.
hit me on Twitter, on in the comment section, on YouTube, on this podcast, on Reddit, wherever you like.
Right. And
Your
I'm always willing
questions
to
are
help.
gonna find their way.
yeah,
to the
you're
comment.
gonna have a lot
Yes.
of questions, trust me. A lot of, especially for me. I'm like, okay, how do you do this? Thank you everybody for watching, for supporting the channel, for everything you guys do for the First Circuit podcast. We do appreciate you being here, and we will actually see you on the battlefield.
And remember the two most important lessons from today: don't go cheap, and be kind and constructive in your feedback.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much for
Bye-bye.
watching. Bye bye.
Very welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.